Hi again, everybody. Welcome to Inside Golf. I'm Harry Donahue. And today it's part 2 of my greenside chat with golf journalist Michael Bamberger. In addition to the hundreds of newspaper and magazine articles and podcasts that Michael has written, he's done several books as well. And he talks about his favorite sport. Yes, the game of golf. His latest is entitled The Ball in the Air, a golfing adventure. It's centered around 3 main characters. They're from different generations. They are all above average golfers, but they're linked by the game that's touched their lives and the lives of people who they have touched. It's Michael Bamberger and his latest work, The Ball in the Air. It's coming up next on Inside Golf. The 26th season of Inside Golf is presented by Destination Montco Golf. Your next golf getaway is in Valley Forge in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. Visit valleyforge.org. By the First Tee Greater Philadelphia. The First Tee not only helps young men and women become better golfers, but most important, better people. Get involved. Visit firstteephiladelphia.org. By the Philadelphia Association of Golf Course Superintendents, a community of professionals enhancing the game of golf since 1925. Make sure you thank your golf course superintendent today. By the Golf Association of Philadelphia, GAP, celebrating amateur golf since 1897. By Jersey Man and Philly Man magazine, a digital publication and private business network. Read the current issue free at jerseymanmagazine.com. By the Haverford Trust Company. For life's must-haves, there's Haverford. And by Inside Golf's partner since 1998, the Philadelphia PGA Section, the experts in the game and business of golf.
Golf is the great equalizer. For many, this journey is an escape from reality, a chance to be part of a team, a career opportunity. PGA Reach impacts lives through golf by lifting people up, giving them hope, and sending them down an alternate path that they never saw coming. With PGA Reach Philadelphia, as in life and in golf, the most important shot you take is the next one.
Welcome back. Inside Golf now continues with Michael Bamberger. We are at St. Martin's Golf Course, part of the Philadelphia cricket family here in Chestnut Hill. Michael, good to be back with you.
Thank you.
We started off with Michael last week. Hope you saw that show. And today we're back with you for another one, and we're talking about your most recent work as an author, The Ball in the Air, a golf adventure. We touched about how there's 3 main protagonists, a lot of other people, and a lot of Michael Bamberger is revealed in that book. Of the 3 protagonists, how did that all start in terms of a young person, middle age? Mr. Lynch, I guess you would say, is that middle-aged person. Yeah. And then Sam Reeves, a very interesting guy who is sort of on the back 9.
Yeah, very much so. Did you ever read the play or see the play Our Town as a kid? A friend, Deb Gress, who used to teach right here at CHA in Springside, she taught that play for years. It's a play that looks at life in 3 different chapters, starting of life, middle of life, and end of life, and it's a spectacular, it's the most performed play in the world. And it really, I read it in high school and I've seen it 50 times. It really resonated very, very deeply with me. And I was thinking, when my editor, Joe Ferrari Adler, suggested I write about amateur golf, I was thinking about a way, how can I express that this really is a game for a lifetime, not by explaining it, but by illustrating it. And with that in mind, I came up with these 3 lives that very much correlate to what you see in Our Town. Stage 1 and Act 1, Act 2 and Act 3. And then, so this young woman, Pratima Sherpa, from Nepal of all places, represents the first act. My colleague Ryan French in his mid-40s, colleague, represents the second act. And then, as you're saying, this wise gentleman of a certain age, Sam Reeves, represents the third act.
Right, and all 3 of them have pretty good golf games. Pratima was the youngest.
Yeah, they're all
of the
good.
3.
They're all break 80
and her, I mean, her story is like almost hard to believe.
You're making a great point, because had it not been for golf and the happenstance and the luck of life, an American writer named Oliver Horowitz happened to be in Nepal and saw her and wrote about her, and that changed the course of her life. Had that not happened, she would be probably like her parents before her, picking weeds at the Royal Nepal Golf Course or something like that. So part of what I'm trying to show in this book is that golf can change the direction of a person's life in the most positive way. Because what the book tries to do is, like with Sam Reeves being near 90, it kind of takes a look at a golfing life as, let's say, from infancy through 90. So to keep Pratimo sort of quote alive in the book, when I moved from the first part of the second part, where do you think you'll be at 30? Where do you think you'll be at 60? And at 60, she thinks she'll be, you know, a grandmother in Nepal. She wants to go back to Nepal, raising kids, and she's seen what golf can do in her own life, and she would like to do the same, make sure that others have the same chance.
The middle person in this three-part, whatever you want to call it, group of protagonists is Ryan French, and he's become a sort of a partner now. You're involved with the Fire Pit Collective, and he's a contributor.
He was a long time, he was a contributor from the start. His main thing now is something called Monday Q Info. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, I am.
So what happened in midlife for him was that his life was getting derailed. And he was literally in a Las Vegas hotel room with his marriage falling apart, drinking too much, and literally on a path to suicide, and would have been a suicide.
He was on the edge.
He was very much on the edge. And his life could have ended one day in this Las Vegas hotel room, and it didn't. And as he sort of reclaimed his life, one of the things that was a great positive in his life was golf, and he sort of reclaimed it in early middle age.
He's got, and to prove that, he's got thousands of followers on Twitter. And
he has 125,000 followers on Twitter. It really is amazing. Yeah. He started this thing.
Tells you how many crazy golf nuts there are.
Yeah, really. There, right? Yeah. I invented a golf club at one point. It's called the E Club, and I called a guy who invented the alien sandwich. Do you remember that at all?
I don't remember that. The
alien sandwich looked like a softball with a piece, like a grapefruit with a piece chopped out. It was for getting out of bunkers. So I called the guy. His name was Pat Simmons. I said, well, how many of these? And then I invented a sort of one-off club. I said, well, how many of these things do you think I can sell? And the guy said, oh, you'll sell 50,000. I said, really? How can you know that? How can you be so precise? He said, there are 50,000 kooks in golf who will buy one of anything.
Did it come close to that?
No. He got it to the number. It was 50,000, and then we couldn't sell another club after that.
Well, and then Sam Reeves, maybe it's because of his age. One of the more fascinating things about him, one of his close friends on the golf course was a man by the name of Seaver, who just happened to have a son by the name of Tom, who turned out to be a pretty fair baseball pitcher.
Yeah, he played hundreds of, he was a Fresno cotton merchant, and he became very successful when Nixon opened up China to American trade. He was really the first guy, his company was really the first company there selling American cotton from the South, from Texas, and from California. To China. They did
he
very
capitalized on capitalism and the marketplace and where it was going and not where it had been.
Absolutely, and he lived in Fresno, which was really the capital of the California cotton industry. And he played hundreds of rounds of golf with a guy who was a very good golfer at Stanford in the 30s. And that man's name was Charlie Seaver. And that Charlie Seaver had a son, George Thomas Seaver, one of my heroes growing up.
Mets fan.
Mets fan. I grew up on Long Island.
It's a fascinating book because, you know, golf to me is, the score is important for every individual who plays. The golf course where you're at sometimes overwhelms people, but the people you play the game with is, for me now especially, the most important aspect of the game. And I think that really comes through in the book, The Ball in the Air.
Thank you, Harry.
Yeah,
Thank you
for
very
you
much.
too. I mean, is that where it is for you?
The reason I'm sort of like listening to that so carefully is that I wasn't actually aware that that was the theme of the book until a friend of mine, Alan Shipnuck, said to me, "This book's really about relationships and friendships." I'm like, wow, this book is really about relationships and friendships. Everything related to golf is really about relationships and friendships. And I kind of knew that, but it's so instinctive and so in me that until he said it out loud, I didn't really think of it exactly that way. But it's absolutely true. And one of the things that's in the book is that there's a remote golf course in Scotland called the Machrihanish on the Mull of Kintyre. You ever been down there?
I have not, but.
And I'm born in 1960, and I was playing golf there with a man who was also born in 1960, and his name is Tommy Blue. Tommy Blue's life experience is very different from my own. He spent his whole life in this remote Scottish town. He was a roofer, a tradesman his whole life. He played the kettle drum on Paul McCartney's 1977 hit with Wings, the Mulla Kintyre. And we played one round at Macrahunch this past summer. I hope to see him again. I might never, you don't know. But that round enriched me incredibly. I feel connected to him, and I feel like I will be connected to him in some way for the rest of my life, just on the basis of this one experience.
Right.
What else? You could go bowling. Maybe bowling has it. You know, I used to love bowling as a kid. But it's not like golf.
The book's entitled The Ball in the Air, A Golfing Adventure. The author is Michael Bamberger, and we're back to talk more about some of the characters in this book. Butch Harmon is one of them. That's next here on Inside Golf.
But really, Sam is all of this.
Welcome back to Inside Golf. We are with golf journalist, author Michael Bamberger. His latest work is The Ball in the Air, A Golfing Adventure. Normally when I use that phrase, I refer to a phone call I make to a golfing partner. Say, hey, ball's in the air at 11 o'clock. What's the significance of the title?
Well,
this particular one?
Okay, right, just as you said, the ball in the air. What time are we playing? Ball's in the air at 8. Right. That means you better get there at 7:45, because if you're going to have balls in the air at 8, you're going to take a few practice swings. So it's a phrase we all use. But in this particular instance, the name came from, you know, the Harmon brothers, of course. Butch Harmon's the best known of them. The late Dick Harmon.
Father Claude.
Yes, Claude, who won the Masters, was their dad. Craig Harmon was at Oak Hill, where the PGA Championship is going to be this year. And the fourth brother is Billy Harmon, who was the head pro at Newport when Marucci and Tiger had their final at Newport. So he's a buddy of mine. And I once said to Billy teaches out west, well, he teaches all over, but mostly in the California desert. What is it that you love best about the game? And he said, the ball in the air. And the notion there is that the ball's stationary. It sits there doing nothing. We're over that ball. We have these thoughts in our head. The thoughts are literally going to go from our head to our body. Our body's going to do something. We're going to propel that ball, hopefully forward. The ball's going to be in the air. Once it's in the air, we've done that. We've taken the stationary ball and we've launched it. Then all hell can and often does break loose. Wind can hit it, a bird could hit it, strange things happen, good things, bad things. It's sort of out of our control. And it's sort of the weirdness and the beauty of golf is that we do everything we can, but some things, as in life, are just out of our, are just really out of our control, basically. So, so the title is really a nod to what Billy Harmon said to me years ago. What he loved best about the game, the ball in the air.
We talked on earlier in the show about the three main protagonist characters that you feature. You have this bit of artwork.
I wouldn't call it artwork, Harry.
Well,
but it is a chart.
What's the significance of it?
Should I show it up here?
Sure.
Okay, so we were talking earlier about the three acts of life and the three acts of our town, what I've tried to do here. This one represents the first act, Proxima. This one represents Ryan French in middle age, and this represents Sam Reeves in the third act, 0 to 30, 30 to 60, 60 to 90. But really, Sam is all of this because he started playing close to, not in infancy, but close to it. He's getting near 90. And one of the things that I learned from Sam Reeves is that he views, I'm in my early 60s, he views life in three acts. And he calls this act one, he calls preparation. Act two, implementation. What are you going to do with all the preparation that you have from 0 to 30? Implementation, 30 to 60. And then what he calls validation, 60 to 90. And my mom was the same way. She thought about life in stages. I really don't. I think of life more as a continuum. But when you hear it from somebody else, you realize that actually makes a lot of sense. So what happened with Sam Reeves is that at 60, after a very successful career as a cotton merchant, he retired. And I was going to start this third stage, what he would call validation. In the early period of the validation years, he's 88 now, but when he was in his early 60s, maybe late 50s, he developed two new friendships, which isn't usual, but golf, as we were discussing earlier, Harry, develops friendships. Friendships can be developed through golf like nothing else can. And he developed these two friendships with two golf professionals who could not be more different. One you mentioned earlier, and anyone who follows golf knows the name Butch Harmon.
Sure.
Taught Tiger Woods, Greg Norman, Davis Love, many others. And the other is Jim Langley. Wouldn't be nearly as well known, but Jim Langley was the longtime pro at Cypress Point Club next to Pebble Beach. These two men could not be
Total
more different.
opposites.
Total opposites. Butch is profane, a meat eater, a drinker, has got the needle out, is always giving you a hard time. Jim was deeply religious, very reserved, and always appropriate. Tragically lost an arm in a car accident. Had the course record at Cypress Point 2 different ways. Two-handed, 63.
Wow.
Hogan and others did it, but he had one of the 63s. And then one-handed in 81, which is absolutely
With just his left arm.
Just his left arm.
Wow.
Every par 3 is a par 4. Every par 4 is a par 5. Every par 5 is a par 6. Par has got to be close to 100 for him. He shoots 81. And it says so much about Sam that his life would be so enriched by these two very different men. And it also shows that he's not a judgmental. He'll meet the person where they are and get from the person and give to that person what he can. And I've taken so much from that.
Right. Well, he's one of the characters you'll hear about and read about in The Ball in the Air by Michael Bamberger. All right, we'll take a break. Coming up next is Teed Off. Michael and I are going to move outdoors here at St. Martin's, and we're going to try to recreate one of his fantastic moments on the golf course. That's next here on Inside Golf.
Better, and then more depth when you get into the professional level. So I think it's to grow the game. There's real kind of meat to that.
Welcome back. Time for our Teed Off panel. We're assembled once again here at Lulu Country Club in Upper Dublin, as they call it, the Lou, and it's always a pleasure to be here. Big, expansive deck. We'll be out there the next time we do a Teed Off panel in a few weeks, I'm sure. It's all happening at the Lou. Remember, the Lou is the gentleman next to me, Jim Sullivan. Always a pleasure to have Sully be sort of our host for this event.
Happy to be here, Harry. Thank you.
No stranger to Golf Anywhere in Philadelphia is Harry Mays. You've probably heard his podcast. It's Swing It and Ding It.
Good to be
and
here.
Mike Brown. You've seen him on the show because we interviewed him a few weeks ago, president of the First Tee. And Brownie, always a pleasure to talk golf with your favorite topic, right?
Absolutely.
The golf ball and
Tell my wife. She
how
knows
we all
it's my
can play.
favorite topic.
This guy gets around. Believe me, he gets around. Golf has had, going back 60 years or more, always seems to have a big three. Back in the day, the early days, it was Hogan and Snead and Nelson. They were all born, in fact, the same year, 1912. Think about that. And then later on, it kind of evolved into Jack and Arnie and Gary Player. And today, if you want to call it the big three, actually you got a choice. And one of them would be Rahm and McIlroy and Scheffler. But Brownie, I mean, you know all these guys personally, right? I mean,
I don't know them all personally, but
you've done your homework. I mean, nothing will equate to what Jack and Arnie did in Player back in the 50s and 60s, 70s when it came to winning majors, right?
There's no way they'll be able to get there because the fields are too deep. As we talked earlier, the people are such better athletes today than they were. Gary was an exception, but Jack and Arnie, they were the guys, when they were done, they went home or they went wherever they went. But I will tell you, as we look at the top 30, anybody can win any week. It wasn't that way before. I would go, where's the gap? We had Tiger and Phil. Who would have been the third in that group? I mean, Tiger, think about how many
Maybe like Ernie Els was near the end. Yeah.
VJ.
Faldo was there, but he was a little older than both of those guys.
Yeah,
right?
Faldo was early.
Yeah, that's right. It was like two and then, take your
Els
pick.
and VJ had a shot, had some time.
Who's
but
that?
Els and VJ each had a time in with Mickelson and
Well,
Woods.
if you go by number one rankings, like David Duval was number one for what, maybe a year or something like that?
Yeah, he was for a long time.
Yeah, so that's interesting. And you go back into the 40s when it was Nelson and Snead and Ben Hogan. Byron Nelson, Jim, won 11 consecutive events that he entered in 1945. That'll never be duplicated, will it?
I would agree that will never be duplicated unless we count the Glenside Amateur. I've got 9 in a row going in the Glenside Amateur. But at the tour level, I think Tiger got to 5 or 6, and that's astonishing.
Well, first of all, they won't play
11.
11 tour events, right? I mean, the schedule, Harry, isn't like it used to be
Right.
for these guys. They pick and choose, and it's even going to get more select when we get to these designated
events.
elevated
Yeah.
events next year.
Next year they're going to have to play fewer than they are this year, which I don't like. But yeah, I agree with both of you guys. Both of those records are never going to be eclipsed in my view, because the breadth of talent is so deep. I mean, you talk about a big three. How about, now you could call them a Big Ten, because
At least.
Colin Morikawa, Max Homa, throw those guys in the mix with those top three guys. JT,
Right.
Spieth, Finau. I mean, they're super talented guys, all capable of winning a major whenever they tee it up.
Yeah, yeah, and getting back to the amount of time that they play, you played college golf, both at Temple. College golfers today are really good. Nothing against you guys and your generation, but do you think the game has really, evolved in that specific
I think
area?
participation numbers when you go down to youth sports are off the charts compared to in our day, and so that you're getting better athletes to play as 8, 9, 10-year-olds, which make better college teams and better, and then more depth when you get into the professional level. So I think it's the grow the game there's real kind of meat to that.
And you were a fence member back at Walnut Lane. We did the story with Mike. He lived right across the street, so why not? I don't know if they had a fence. You just walked through it. But my point was, but you still played other sports.
Played other sports. And
Today,
and
these kids
play one sport.
Yeah.
At 10, they have to make a decision.
Specialize early.
And I would tell you that's where injuries come in and things like that, repetitive motion injuries. I mean, you think about the knee injuries you've seen on the tour. You look at Tiger, you look at Justin Thomas had problems.
Brooks Koepka.
And
The
out
wrist
there, you slide a little, you slide a long distance because there's somebody waiting to take your next step. I mean, look at the Korn Ferry guys this year and what a move they're making on the regulars. The Ben Griffins of the world. Ryan Gerard, a Monday qualifier, and then he gets another event, and then he plays well again, and you're like, wow, there's so many guys that we don't even know who they are.
and Scotty Scheffler talking about you're not supposed to move your joints like your knee and your ankle.
Right.
I mean, try telling that. How long is he going to last with that move?
Well,
or is he an anomaly?
No, but I think
physicality.
I think when you're stuck in the ground,
That's what causes the
then there's
stress.
tendon issues. He's sliding all over
Yeah.
the place like.
So
no
he's
problem.
superficial.
I think
he's not
so.
planet.
It's like he's on skates.
I think he's above the ground there a little bit.
True. Yeah, they're elevated. Here's my big three: Jim Sullivan, Harry Mays, Mike Brown.
Happy to do it.
Thanks for joining us, guys. We'll be back more of Inside Golf in just a moment. Designed by Donald Ross, Lulu Country Club is one of the premier private golf courses in Montgomery County. This classic 18-hole course boasts a new state-of-the-art clubhouse with many amenities for members to enjoy. Members are invited to play in events, tournaments, and enjoy guest privileges. For more information, contact membership at lulucc.com.
The Valley Forge Tourism and Convention Board is holding its first ever Freedom from Hunger Drive in the spring. We normally hold it in the fall and we'll still be doing that, but we want to help the soup kitchens and food pantries all across Montgomery County recover from exhausting their resources over the holidays and get ready for the summertime when kids won't be in school for free and reduced meals. No one should have to wake up with the burden of worrying if they'll have enough to eat that day. So help us fight hunger together at valleyforge.org/hunger. For the Tourism Board, I'm Rachel Riley.
Welcome back to Inside Golf. Wrapping it up with Michael Bamberger here at St. Martin's in Cheston Hill with the shot heard round St. Martin's. It happened a few years ago during a big event. Bigger than big. It was a major, right? The fifth major?
In the Bamberger house, it's the fifth major.
The fifth major. And Michael, take us through it. What happened?
It's the fifth major. I'm a sports writer getting their sixth in, playing a retired tax lawyer. We're all even going to 18. We wind up here on the 18th hole here at St. Martin's. It's 9-hole course to go around twice. I hit my tee shot here, hole high. My opponent, Fred Gerhardt, is on in 2. I've got 1 foot on the patio. 1 foot off, 2 market umbrellas here. They're in the up position. I've got to pitch it over these market umbrellas. Now I've got a 3-foot putt to win the match. To combat the yips, I go lefty-righty.
You have a two-face putter.
Right, two-face putter, and I'm unsure as whether to go lefty or righty on this particular putt. If I don't make the putt, the match is going to the first hole. My guy gets a shot there. I don't like my chances, but anyway.
It's a must make.
It's a must make. I decided to go lefty.
it's lousy. It's got no speed. It's barely on its line. It's trotting toward the hole. And it's like slightly uphill, gravity being gravity. It's never going to fall in the hole.
But
it falls in the hole.
there you go.
I win the match. And this guy is it's like the most unlikely up and down in the history of golf, in my opinion. This Fred Gerhardt is such a gent. He's not like, I got just beat by the most unlikely up and down ever. He's not like that at all. He's like, good match. And what I tried to say in the book, well, what I did say in the book is the absolute truth. Fred's golf. That's the spirit of the game right there, what Fred showed. We both tried our hardest. This time I happened to come out on top. 6 games in 10, he's going to come out on top. But we had a great match.
Probably all your friends are saying, I remember that day I was standing right there with you. They weren't here, but you made it happen.
Two or three people were standing back there, which of course makes it a little more unnerving.
Michael, thank you. Ball in the air, a golfing adventure.
Harry, this is really a delight. Great to be with you. You've been at this. We've both been at this a long, long time. I really appreciate this. Thank you, Harry.
The sun's out. It's a beautiful day at St. Martin's. Thanks for joining us. Pick up the book, The Ball in the Air by Michael Bamberger. It's well worth the read, or 2 or 3. I'm Harry Donahue with Michael. Thanks for joining us. See you next week here on Inside Golf. The 26th season of Inside Golf is presented by Destination Montco Golf. Your next golf getaway is in Valley Forge in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. Visit valleyforge.org. By the First Tee Greater Philadelphia. The First Tee not only helps young men and women become better golfers, but most important, better people. Get involved. Visit firstteephiladelphia.org. By the Philadelphia Association of Golf Course Superintendents, a community of professionals enhancing the game of golf since 1925. Make sure you thank your golf course superintendent today. By the Golf Association of Philadelphia, GAP, celebrating amateur golf since 1897. By Jersey Man and Philly Man Magazine, a digital publication and private business network. Read the current issue free at jerseymanmagazine.com. By the Haverford Trust Company. For life's must-haves, there's Haverford. And by Inside Golf's partner since 1998, the Philadelphia PGA Section, the experts in the game and business of golf.